Good morning, and welcome to our podcast today with Truth Be Told with Max and Dwight. And from wherever and whenever you're watching this and paying attention to it, we want to welcome you today. We're excited. Give us, Max, give us our excited face. Pretty unfair of me to ask for that, but we're excited because this Sunday is Celebration Sunday here at All the Nations. We're videoing this in my office here, and if you can see kind of the side on that, you'll see Aslan that's watching over us, and that was a gift that was given to me a number of years ago when I moved into this office by one of my daughters, and I really appreciate it. And at the time, I said to one of the ladies at the church I was pastoring and kind of moving on, she came and was a little disappointed that I was leaving there. And I said to her, Aslan is on the move. And if you're familiar with the Chronicles of Narnia, you'll know that expression. And yeah, we're certainly seeing Aslan on the move. And this Sunday, we've set up for the most seating. We have seats in there right now for 170 people. And we're hoping that we hold everybody that comes. And there's a baptism. 8 are being baptized. And what an incredible experience that is in the life of our church. 8 people are saying, I want to follow Jesus. I want others to know that I am following Jesus. And then we have 3 families that are doing dedications. They're saying publicly, we want to bring up our children to know and love Jesus. And so exciting. We're excited about it. Not a potluck afterwards. There's a barbecue afterwards. And for some it's free food, but for us it's fellowship, getting together with one another and enjoying that fellowship. Max, I'm really sad.
I know.
You're not going to be here.
So am I.
First baptism you missed?
Second.
Second?
Yes.
You missed the first one that we did?
Yeah, well, I was there for mine.
Oh, yeah.
And I was there for Sean's last year.
Yeah.
And so I was last year, the year before, and then I missed the year before that when Diane and
okay.
I missed that one.
I
recorded them, but I missed them.
Yeah, every baptism is exciting, and that one was great, and they're all exciting because it's people that are saying, I'm going to follow Jesus. So I want to ask you some questions. You waited a long time in your walk with Jesus before you actually entered into the waters of baptism. So I want to ask you, first of all, why did you wait? What was the reason behind that? And what did it mean to you when you were baptized?
For sure. A lot of people ask why I waited. And I think the most straight to it answer would be because I wanted it to be real.
Okay.
I knew the what would you call it? Not the seriousness, but the realness of it. I understood the importance of it, and I also when there was a lot of people when I was in like the teen years, there's a lot of pressure to just get baptized. Get baptized. My wife did, I think her sister did, my sister did, a bunch of others did all at the same time, and they were, they chose to do that. Whether they felt pressure or not, I don't know. It's not for me to know.
Yeah.
But I definitely felt because they were getting baptized, and everyone was like, are you going to get baptized? And I thought about it, and then there was like a lot of people grilling me on that. I'm like, as soon as I sensed that, I'm like, sorry, no, I'm not, because you want me to get baptized, but I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
And I want it to be real for myself, for my relationship with Christ, not theirs. And just because I got to do the thing.
Yeah.
And so, to me, I don't really know if it was just my stubbornness or if it was God saying, no, this is serious. You need to be in the right mindset for this. And that's why I don't know, honestly. But to me, it wasn't until we left that church, carried on, went through this journey of you know, we were actually talking in our men's group last night and talking about who God is to us. And some of us were talking and shared a little bit. And one thing that one of the guys was saying is like the consistency. Like he's always there.
Yeah.
We've never ever questioned that in my mind. Like I know some people question if he's there, but for me, I resonated with that because he's always been there. I've never questioned that. But at the same time, through that, it's also been kind of complacent. So he's just, in my mind, he's there, easy to take for granted, whatever. But it was never really deep and real. So then as time went on and he drew me closer, I grew closer to him, then it was more clear to me why I was doing it. Okay. And then I'm like, yeah, let's just do this now because it's shifted in my mind.
Yeah. So Max, I've been tracking with you for about 6 years now. And it's amazing how quickly that has gone. I remember we would, previous discussions, we go, yeah, Max, how long ago was it when you stood by the banister out there in that railing? And, we go, oh yeah, that was a year ago, or that was 2 years ago. And it's amazing now to say, yes, it's been 6, 7 years. And when I say that, I've been tracking with you, we've been doing mentoring. And one of the things that has really stood out to me was the original questions. And that's the question you were asking your guy last night. And so much of our life centers around that. Now that question, it's a profound question. I don't think you knew it was profound. And I definitely didn't know it was profound. And I didn't know how much it would change you and me. Right? And that first question, we sat down and we had the coffee, and you said to me, how do I live this life? Yeah. And you didn't want it to be 1 hour on Sunday. You didn't want it to be simply a Sunday thing. You wanted to know, how do I live this in my marriage? How do I live this in my business? How do I live it with my friends? How do I live it? And that really has, looking back, that's changed so much of your emphasis, maybe not realizing that, but once that question was out, then it becomes...
Well, yeah, and that's part of that, is growing up, you felt like I wasn't allowed to ask those questions or challenge God. That's what it seemed like. And it's like, well, thinking that he can't take it, or he can't take those questions. But then that's how my mindset was, because it's like, oh, we're not allowed to ask those questions. This is how we're raised, this is how we're supposed to do things. But until I was able to get to the place to ask that question, then it became, okay, now I'm going to go down that road. Then to me, it's like believe and be baptized. So how do you prove belief though? I have to start walking that, because if I'm believing, but I'm not walking it, I haven't actually learned how to continue to go down that trail. Doesn't mean it's going to be perfect, but believing, there has to be evidence of the belief. And to me, at least this is what it is for me. Going down that road and starting to walk down that road, then being baptized was in my mind, the correct order. Because it's like, believe, but now I have to walk that, not just say it. Because to me, I didn't want to just say, yeah, I believe, get baptized, and my life doesn't reflect that.
That's really being the disciple, right? Jesus said, go therefore. First thing he says is make disciples. He didn't say go baptize them so they become disciples. He said to them, he said, make disciples. And again, that's that I was doing in your life. I was making a disciple. And it's not like you sit down and say, okay, how do I make this guy into a disciple? Or how do I make myself into a disciple? But it becomes that experience, that everyday experience where we walk with Jesus and we make disciples as we go along the journey. Right. Max, what was it like for you. You waited a long time, and then now at the time that I came to know you, you were certainly experiencing the reality of Jesus walking with you and you walking with him on a daily basis. So when you entered into the waters of baptism, what did that mean to you then?
You know, I don't have anything crazy. I have lots of friends that have like this very, very crazy story about their baptism, but to me it was just like making it public, but it was already really public, you know, in a sense. But it's more like it's just stepping in the act of obedience that Jesus has called me into.
Yeah.
And it's not, to me, it wasn't like anything fancy, crazy. I didn't, you know, I've heard of some people feeling a spiritual change in that moment. I didn't feel that.
No.
It was very underwhelming, if you will, in that sense.
But you were already experiencing
Exactly. That's the thing.
Those feelings that God was changing you, right?
Correct.
And people were witnessing that, and so I think back, you know, and I look at that, and you know that moment, you know, of baptism was really that step of obedience, because Scripture says, "Repent and be baptized," right?
And I think this step it's not a do this to seal the deal sort of thing. It's a do this because now it's what he commands us to do, and it's just a physical public step of showing that in that sense.
Yeah. So one of the things that typically happens after someone is baptized is, and you can look at the life of Christ, there's a period of testing or trial right after that. You know, Jesus was baptized, and, you know, and was there euphoria there? Well, the Father spoke from heaven. The Spirit of God descended upon him. I don't know that it was euphoria for Christ, but definitely all of these signs, right? What's the very next thing that happens? He was led by the Spirit out into the wilderness, and he goes through a period of testing, right? And you know, I don't know that a lot of believers think about that. When I draw this line in the sand, and I say, you know what, I'm going to cross over and I'm going to be baptized, that Satan says, now let's test this. Yeah. Was there anything like that happened in your life?
Definitely was. I don't know. There definitely was prior to that, and is continuing. To me, I don't think it ever really stops. I think there's to me, I've experienced periods of calm and periods of turmoil, and I don't think that'll ever end. I've recognized that it won't end, but what will change is, to me, it's like letting go of and so if I'm stepping in and following and surrendering to him continually, which is a continual thing, to me, regardless of the testing or the turmoil, as long as my eyes are on him, he gives me the peace through that. And the stuff like, kind of like, so it's not a matter of if you're going to go through, it's when, but how you're going to deal with it through that. I can't pick any specific scenarios out after I was baptized, but I do know that there's a period of letting go in the business where there's a period where things could have went all the way, and I definitely didn't want that to happen. But until I was able to let go of that and say, okay, God, regardless of whether you take this away or not, I'm going to leave that in your hands, not mine. And when I let that go, that was actually just before I got, a few years before, I can't remember, honestly. But it was before I got baptized. And when that happened, then it didn't change the circumstances, it didn't change the turmoil, but it definitely changed the way I felt about it in the middle of it. And it changed the way people viewed how I acted through it. because people are like, how are you so calm? I'm like, well, I'm really not. But I am because of him, and he's given that to me. I can't do that on my own.
I think every time that we surrender to God, surrender an area of our life, we surrender, in obedience to baptism, we surrender. I think that Satan comes along right shortly after that, and we may not look back at the moment to see that, but he comes along and he tests, are you, is this real? It's like Peter, when Peter said, if everybody else walks away, Jesus, I'll be there. If I have to die with you, that's okay with me. And then Satan tests, and Jesus said, Satan has desired you that he might sift you as wheat, right? Yeah. And so I think that happens in a lot of places. And so I want to thank you for joining us on this Truth Be Told. I'm Dwight. This is Max, and we're excited about this Sunday where 8 of our friends are entering into the waters of baptism.